Is there any foods that you would you just avoid altogether?
It's controversial. Some people say it doesn't cause issues, but other research shows that it can lead to cancer.
Meet the food therapist,
Aoife Reilly.
You know, if you go to a doctor, they might say, no, there's no link between what you're eating and the condition that you have. But people can reverse a lot of conditions through proper diet. It can be a minefield because there's so much contradictory information on the internet. Some studies are funded by dairy companies. They're saying, you know, you have to have milk. Food plays a really big role in our mental health, and something that people are starting to become more aware of now is the link between your gut and your brain. They've shown in studies that people with depression often have certain types of bad bacteria in their gut. Some people are going as far as having fecal transplant, like feces being transplanted from.
Hey Aoife, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks a million for having me.
So what is it that you do?
I am a nutritional therapist. So what that is, and by the way, mostly when people hear nutritional therapist, they're like, you just make me not eat the foods that I want to eat, but it's a little bit more than that. So I work with people to see what kind of health conditions they have and can we find like a root cause of those. So it's very holistic, looking at mind, body and soul and seeing what kind of nutrients are missing from their diet and what kind of food changes we could make, just to see if we can get them back to balance in their bodies. So some examples could be where people have digestive issues or immune system issues. So some examples could be like issues with their thyroid, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or it could be...
What's that?
So that's actually a condition that affects the thyroid and can make it underactive, and it's caused by the immune system in the body reacting to the thyroid itself, thinking that the thyroid is something causing a problem for the body. So that's just like one... I don't know why I picked that example, but it just popped into my head.
You mentioned something after that one, or was that the same thing? You said thyroid problems and then you said something else after that. Is that all interlinked? I never heard of it called.
So it was a long name, Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
I never heard of that. Is that
it's
basically a
common
thyroid?
enough in Ireland. Yeah, it can be common enough in Ireland and can run in families. But yeah, that one does come up. There can be a lot of thyroid issues that people come in with. But also it could be fertility, where people want to get pregnant and it hasn't been happening, or the whole kind of pregnancy journey through when people are pregnant and then afterwards, after they've had the baby and they need to build themselves back up again, especially if they're breastfeeding or if they've had a very hard birth. And that it could be other things as well, like menopause support or acne, lots of skin conditions. I mentioned digestive before, so sometimes people have Crohn's disease or they've found out that they're celiac, and loads of different things really. So anything really that people are living with that is affecting their quality of life, and they want to have more energy, maybe lose weight and just get back to having the vitality that they had before they had that condition.
Yeah, I feel like it's mad. It all stems down to food, doesn't it?
Oh, so much. Yeah.
And we don't realise it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the biggest thing that we put into our bodies every day. And the quality of it makes such a difference to our quality of life. And there has to, some people, if you go to a doctor, they might say, no, there's no link between what you're eating and the condition that you have. But there generally is, and there are so many things we can do with food to make a change. And it can be really fast sometimes as well, just how quickly someone can get a difference from the right foods and the right nutrients. Yeah,
because it's as you said earlier on when we were having a chat before we started, it's like people just go to straight away all medications and stuff like that, where if you just changed your diet, you wouldn't even... And then when you start taking the medication, it's probably improving how you're feeling or whatever. Yeah. But then it's probably giving you other side effects and it's not natural.
Yeah.
And causing other problems.
Exactly. And sometimes as well, I sometimes think of our health being a bit like the dashboard in the car. And, when the oil light comes on or, some little engine light comes on, you can either, go to a mechanic and get that light turned off, or you can look at the problem. And a lot of the times what we do is if we have a headache and we keep getting a headache, we take a painkiller and another painkiller, but we're not looking at what's causing the headache. And sometimes it could be something as simple as we need more water, like we're dehydrated every day, or it could be something else, but we don't always look to see what's the problem with the engine, like the rest of our body. We're just usually looking to see how do we get rid of this quickly. So yeah, the medications sometimes are not finding what's the real problem.
Yeah, and so why do you feel what made you pick this career path? What is the reason why you're doing this?
It started with my own health. I I worked in the corporate world for 20 years. So I was with IBM for a few years, for 11 years actually, and then with Meta. And I found that I was getting really stressed. And I didn't even know what stress was at the time, you know, in my 20s and 30s. But I knew that something was wrong in my body, and I had a lot of digestive issues. I had really bad acne. I had loads of different issues, and I was going to so many different specialists. I was on medications, and I just wasn't getting better. I was feeling worse. And it came to a head for me one day when I found myself sitting in a cardiologist's waiting room. And I looked around and I was surrounded by people in their 70s and 80s. And I was thinking, this isn't right. What am I doing here with all of these really old people? And I was 28.
Yeah.
And I went back to my own doctor, and, you know, they were talking about putting me on beta blockers for my heart and different medications. And I was saying, but this can't be the only way, you know, and they were talking about this will be for the rest of your life. And
what are beta blockers?
Beta blockers are, so I had a very fast heart rate at that time, and they didn't know like what way to slow it down to a normal pace. So these medications would help to regulate the heart rate to what it should be. But the doctor then said to me, do you know what, if you got healthy, if you ate a little bit better and got a bit of exercise, I bet you'd be grand. And I was thinking, I wish you'd told me that before I went to all the specialists.
Yeah, and paid so much money probably as well.
But it's exactly what I did. I changed my diet, and within a few weeks, my heart was grand. My skin was clearing up. My digestion was improving. I'd had like a lot of sinus issues as well. They were starting to clear up. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. Definitely there's something to the diet here. And I realized that I could, without even having much knowledge in it, I was able to make massive changes in my own health. And I got interested then in seeing how can I do that for other people? And I started then a nutritional therapy qualification. That was a 4-year one. And after that, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely doing this as a full-time job. And I did it part-time while I was still in the corporate world for a few years, but then decided, right, I'm going full-time into this, because I find it really rewarding when someone comes in and maybe they've been having problems with fertility and they're like, I'm pregnant. And, you know, it's so amazing to see that the changes that we've made in their diet are actually going to bring a new person into the world. Or, you know, that one person had really bad eczema, and it was to the point where she didn't want to go out and she had no social life. She was only 21, and her confidence was awful. She had really bad anxiety because of it. And then within a few weeks, her skin was clear. And
in a few weeks, it was fully clear.
A few weeks. And she'd been on really hardcore medication before that. And she came back and she was like, I can't believe it, you know, and she was like a new person. So for me, it's those times where you see the person coming back and they're like a new person, that makes it all worthwhile for me. So I find it really rewarding to do it as well.
Yeah, that's mad. It's crazy. I'm like, I never even thought like your diet can, obviously I thought like maybe slightly, but like your diet can improve fertility, like that. It's mad.
Yeah.
You got loads of clients that'll come in and
a lot will come for that, because they've been trying for so long, and going down the IVF route, it's very expensive, and it's like an emotional roller coaster. And often I'll support people while they're doing that as well, but sometimes people don't want to do that. You know, financially it's a big expense, and there's a lot that they have to do to even get ready for IVF. But when they change their diet to get the right levels of nutrients, and that's one of the first things I do is test to see what are their nutrient levels like. So for example, you need, you know, good folate or folic acid in your body. Iron levels need to be good, vitamin D, vitamin C, lots of different nutrients need to be at a good place so that you can make good eggs, or, you know, that they're good quality, that you're going to be able to hold a pregnancy as well, not just get pregnant, but hold it, and then be able to like create a really healthy baby as well, and be healthy yourself going through it, because the baby's going to take a lot of those nutrients from your body. So yeah, it's really, it can, just getting the nutrients right can make a huge difference just to the body in terms of fertility and how well a woman's going to be able to hold the pregnancy too.
Yeah. And so what would be like a healthy, I'm like, obviously your greens and your vegetables, like what do you think of like plant-based diets? Yeah,
so like vegetarian?
Yeah, vegetarian, vegan, and what's your opinion on that?
If they're done right, and if they suit the person, they can be great. So you can have like a vegan diet that's, you know, still all white bread and sugar and, you know, not healthy foods, or you can have one that has really high levels of green vegetables, loads of different vegetables, has protein coming from lots of different sources, like maybe tofu, legumes if they suit a person, nuts, seeds, all these different things. So if you have a really varied and healthy vegan or plant-based diet, brilliant. But if you're having a processed food diet that's vegan, then you're not going to get the same benefits.
Yeah, I went vegetarian for 2 years, and then I think I was pescatarian for the last year, so I eat fish, like.
Yeah.
But at the start, I just found it so hard to, because obviously I was so used to eating meat for meat protein and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I found it so hard to I don't know, think of other different things that I could eat.
Yeah.
It took me only a while to kind of get to know, like, all right, chickpeas, tofu, and fines, because it's very hard, I feel like, for anyone who's vegetarian. There's only, like, say you go to the shops, it's only like a couple of shelves.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more now, and there's more now in restaurants and stuff like that. But I feel like, as you said, a lot of people will go vegetarian or vegan, and they're just eating, like, say, go to Chinese and just eat chips.
Yeah.
Or they go to McDonald's and just eat, like, do you know what I mean? So they're not getting all the nutrients. I met a girl before, and she said she was vegan, and she was she didn't like any of the food. So she was so she's basically what I was trying to say there with that is she was drinking the shakes.
Oh, okay.
So I was just kind of like, that sounds so unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like, and she was real, like, skinny and stuff like that, and then you could see her nails were a little bit like,
okay.
So you know, and that's obviously one of the signs. Like, I do acrylic, so that's one of the contraindications. You can see, like, when their nails are like that there's severe malnutrition going on there.
Yes.
So it's mad.
Yeah, you're right, because the nails and the hair and skin are the last place that the nutrients will go to, because they'll go to the organs first. So if you're seeing signs of malnutrition at the skin and the hair and the nails, then there's a lot more going on inside where the other organs haven't gotten enough of what they need either. And I often will get people who come and say, I went vegetarian, a year ago or whatever, and I've just got no energy, or my hair is getting thinner. And then we look as well to see what nutrients are they missing. Is there balance? And there usually isn't. How can we bring balance to their diet? So are they getting enough healthy fats? Are they getting protein in enough ways? Or sometimes someone has gone vegetarian, but they have a problem with lectins, which are a compound that's in beans and legumes. So they're not actually really able to digest any of that, and then they're not getting the benefits of the protein in the beans or legumes. So we need to look then at what are other sources for them, and how do we get them back to a place where the balance is in their diet.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. That's when I went pescatarian for the last year. I felt like it was easier for me to get the protein, but I got so sick of fish, I was like, I'm done. I was like, 3 years was enough.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking, I'm like, I'd love to go back vegetarian or something, because I feel bad that I'm eating animals or whatever, and I know it's better for the planet and stuff like that. But yeah, I just feel like it's harder.
I know. Yeah.
I wish there was more out there and more available, and like all different shops and stuff, because I feel like to grab something quick, it's easier to actually just eat meat.
That's true. Restaurants really tailor to meat eaters and fish, like eaters as well. But often, if there is a vegetarian meal on, it's got cheese as the main thing. And, if you're vegan, you're not going to be able to have that or eggs. But again, if you're vegan, you're not going to be able to have those. So it does limit for social eating when you're going out, the choices that you have sometimes.
Yeah. And you said, obviously, from a bad diet, like, do you feel, obviously, like thyroid problems, do you think that, like, say if someone just started eating healthy, they'd just get rid of that?
Oh, if they're eating the right foods to
they wouldn't have the
issues.
thyroid problems?
Oh, in most cases,
Really?
People can reverse a lot of conditions through proper diet. And if you're eating the right foods, it's even more powerful than supplements, and definitely it can be better than medication. But a lot of the time people don't know, and they don't know what's going to suit them, and it can be a minefield because there's so much contradictory information on the internet. And some studies are funded by the dairy companies maybe, and they're saying, you know, you have to have milk, or you have to have, you know, for calcium, where there are other sources as well. Or like the food pyramid, when it was created, was very heavily influenced by the farming industry, and they wanted people to eat more grains and more dairy, but they weren't looking at what was really more healthy for people. And so vegetables got a smaller part of that food pyramid when they needed to be a much bigger part. So it really depends on where the information is coming from.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in primary school. It was it was like all over, like the walls and stuff, like the food pyramid. But I actually can't remember, was the dairy and stuff like it was basically saying to have more of that. Like.
Yeah, and the bottom of it was grains, so having like potatoes, pasta, all of those. And they suit some people really well. Some people do really well on more carbohydrates, but most people are going to do better on a diet that has more vegetables and meat, or good protein sources and good fat sources. And fats got vilified. You know, people were afraid to eat fats.
But I feel like there's a difference of like good fats and bad fats.
Yes, there is.
Because then some people get confused with that and thinking that like say butter is like a good fat, but it's obviously...
Yeah, butter, it's not the worst if you've got grass-fed good butter. And in Ireland, we do have good butter. Like what you get in the tub, the spreadable, is mostly oil. But if you get a block of butter, it can be like a good quality fat. But the really good ones are avocados, nuts, seeds, like flaxseed oil. So those cold pressed oils, like olive oil as well, they can have really good fats in them.
Yeah. What do you think? What's your opinion on, like, I feel like now, like, if you're healthy and you're looking after yourself, it's going to the gym and taking a load of protein.
Oh yeah.
So what do you think? What's your opinion on like protein powders, protein bars and stuff like that? Because I feel like when you're on social media, when like there's a big thing about it, don't be. Yeah. You'll hear someone saying, "Don't be eating protein or protein bars, that they're really bad for you and all that." So what's your opinion on that?
I think the quality is really important, and the quantity as well. So if you're working out and, you know, you're trying to gain muscle and do bodybuilding, you're going to need more protein to build more muscle. But if you're just going to the gym maybe 3 times a week, doing some light exercise, or you're not working out at all, you don't really need a huge amount more protein than maybe you were getting before. And it can depend on your body size and your goals as well. But those kind of protein bars, sometimes they have a lot of sugar or a lot of sweeteners in them, or a lot of colours, or maybe not colours, but preservatives and different ingredients that are going to give it more flavour or texture. And those extra ingredients make it a very ultra processed food, and the body doesn't really recognize that. But if you're eating protein from, you know, the vegetarian sources, or meat or fish, your body recognizes that more readily and is able to, you know, convert the protein in your body. But sometimes those bars, they have too many other ingredients that are not healthy, and it's a big wham of protein in one go, but there isn't carbohydrate or fats to go with it. So the ideal is to get it from the food.
Yeah, from natural sources of it.
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm in the shop, I'm like, oh, I'll get a better option of a bar, and I'm like, I'll pick up a protein bar.
Yeah.
But then I'm like thinking, I'm starting to question it now, because I'm seeing a lot of it. How much protein? Like, so say for example, if I was to go to the gym 3 times a week, do weights, and then maybe twice doing cardio, like how much protein would you say you'd need? That obviously probably depends on your height and your weight, and if you're medium or...
It does actually. And when people come in person to the clinic, I usually use body composition analysis to do that with them. So it's a scale that's scanning the body, so you're holding on to something, and it's seeing how much protein is already in your body, what's your makeup of fat, muscle, bone, everything and water in your body, and we can very quickly then say how much a person needs. And it'll even tell you how much muscle is on each arm, each leg, your torso, so you can know then the areas that already have a lot of muscle and don't. So that's very helpful for people when they're going to the gym as well, but also good in determining how many calories, or more so how much protein a person needs every day. That there is like a rule of thumb around that people need about 0.8 grams of their body weight, it's for each kilogram in their body. So I'd need to kind of sit down with each person and say, right, this is right for you. But yeah, it's a kind of, it's become a real protein culture where people
It
all
is,
think
it
we need
is.
more protein. But that can be hard on the kidneys as well. So if you're having like a lot of protein shakes or protein bars, your body still has to process all of that protein. And unless you're doing huge workouts in the gym, you might have too much. And then your kidneys find that quite hard to flush out as well.
Yeah, like it's mad. That was literally like, I'll have if I don't get breakfast, I'll have a protein shake or a protein bar or something in the shop, and then I might say if I didn't have my lunch, I'll grab another one.
Yeah,
and it's literally just all like, it is just all processed foods. When you're thinking it's like the better and the healthier option.
I know what you mean. And the other thing is like we need to chew as well. So if we're just having shakes, our body is getting all this pre-chewed, well, so it's like it's pre-chewed because it was blended food going down into the stomach. And there are all these different phases of digestion. So, you know, when you go to a restaurant and the smell when you walk in, you're like, oh my God, it smells amazing. And you're looking at everybody else, like at the other tables, and you're like, oh my God, that looks really good. I wouldn't mind having that. And like your mouth is watering, where, you know, you're just getting really like looking forward to the meal. And that's called the cephalic phase, where our body is starting to create the enzymes that we need to break down the carbohydrates, the proteins, and to digest our food really well. And often when we're just, you know, maybe sitting at our desk and we're just having a protein shake, our body's not ready really for that. It's like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? But also even chewing is really important for breaking down different nutrients or different parts of the food so that we can start to absorb the nutrients. And if we're having lots of shakes or lots of already, blitzed food, it's not good either for our bodies. So we need a bit of a mix of, you know, chewing as well. And the shakes are great every now and then, but not necessarily like 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah. So see the way you're saying there, like when your body starts to smell the food, it starts to basically like not digest, or
it's getting you ready for digesting.
Yeah. So like, would you say, when you say getting ready for digestion, say if someone walks in a restaurant and they're constantly smelling food, is their body constantly thinking that they're,
I think if they're already full, they probably getting used to that. But it's a good point. Maybe they're going to be a little bit more hungry than other people or have a better appetite. I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, that's not like, is that not improving digestion, but constantly thinking their body that they're about to eat, so it's constantly.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
And what do you, when people take, like, say, with depression and mental health, obviously that's affected their food as well. It probably comes down to that as well. Would you say if someone just improved their diet, if someone was to take antidepressants, they probably wouldn't even need them anymore?
Food plays a really big role in our mental health, and something that people are starting to become more aware of now is the link between your gut and your brain. And if the gut is in good shape, then it has really big impacts for mental health. And the gut, you could kind of like maybe imagine it like a garden, and if it has good soil and really nice plants and flowers and trees, you don't want weeds to start setting in. And when we have, like, let's say the plants and the flowers and the trees are our good bacteria and our good fungi and yeasts, then we can often, from bad diet or from stress or antibiotics or other reasons, maybe even pesticides in food, a lot of the good flowers or plants can get killed off, and weeds can start to creep in, and they can choke out and crowd out a lot of the good flowers and the different things, and can affect the soil and deplete it of all the nutrients. And it's a little bit like that in our gut. We need to make sure that it's full of good bacteria, and that has a big impact on our mental health as well. Like, they've shown in studies that people with depression often have certain types of bad bacteria in their gut, and that people with really good mental health often have more of the beneficial types. So if it's like a garden again, it can be too many of those weeds or different things that are not there, and you want a really good microbiome, as we call it, in the gut. And even some people are going as far as having fecal transplants. So that's actually like feces being transplanted from one person who has a really good microbiome into a person who has maybe very bad anxiety or depression or other mental health conditions. And they're seeing that people are getting better when they have that feces transplant from the person with a really good gut into the person who needs to improve theirs. So the gut health is really important for mental health and depression. And even sunlight is really important because we make serotonin in our gut, which is the feel-good hormone, and vitamin D is something that we make as well, and we get that from sun. We make it through our skin. Obviously, we need to protect our skin as well, but the more we can get vitamin D into our bodies as well, the better our gut will be, the better our health overall will be, and our mental health as well.
Yeah, that's it's Hilberman. I think I was watching a couple of like his podcast and what he recommends going on a walk as soon as what he says going on a walk for a sunrise and a sunset.
Yes,
it's I've heard that a lot now. Just going on a walk and just seeing the sunlight, that how beneficial it is for you.
It's so good. And early in the day is really good because it helps to regulate your circadian rhythm, which is the rhythm in your body that tells you when it's time to sleep, when it's time to wake up, when it's time to eat. And it's a really important cycle that sometimes gets thrown out of whack because we're in artificial lighting and we're staying up late at night, with screens, and it can get really thrown off. But if we go out in the morning in natural light, it can help to regulate that and make sure that we're creating the right hormones for sleep in the evening, like melatonin, and the right hormones throughout the day.
It's mad. I've heard it before and I'm hearing it again. I'm like, I'll get on this, like, which I wouldn't call it a buzz or whatever. Yeah. But I'll stick to something for a couple of weeks and then I snap out of it. But then you're out there reminding me like how important it is. I'm like, I need to start going on my walks again in the mornings.
Now it's coming into the summer. It's going to be a really nice time to do it as well. And often it's the things that are free and available to everyone that we don't even think of, or that, unless it's like really trendy to do something, sometimes we don't even hear about it. But sunlight, water, sleep, those things, fundamental to everything.
Yeah. What would you see, the way we're talking about like all different like thyroid problems, eczema and stuff like that good diet improves. I have MS, multiple sclerosis, so like I'm like, what diet would be suited for that? I seen somewhere on YouTube and it was like there was a study done that a Mediterranean diet is very good. Is better. Would that be?
That definitely
probably
helps
the same diet, a good diet for everyone. The same diet suits everyone, isn't it?
Yeah. So like because it has a lot of good fats in it, it's very clean diet. There isn't a lot of processed food in it. It's brilliant for conditions like multiple sclerosis. And there's a doctor in the US called Dr. Terry Walls, and she's created a protocol specifically to reverse MS.
Oh, so a good diet has reversed.
Yeah, and she puts people on it, and people all over the world now are following her Walls. It's WAHLS, I think, protocol, and they're getting amazing results. People who were in wheelchairs are back walking and even running and cycling, and it's because people were told that it's irreversible and that they're just going to progressively get worse. But she's found that by changing the diet, and her big thing is vegetables, green vegetables like spinach, kale, collards, all the leafy green vegetables, having a lot of them every day. And then she says, I think it's, trying to remember now, 2 palm sizes of meat, that like she would say for protein.
A day, like.
Yeah, that's how she would measure it. Sorry, it might have been 2 per meal twice a day. I'd need to double check it. It could be different for men and for women. But with that and healthy fats, and she takes out grains, so all the gluten ones especially.
So don't be eating that.
Yeah, dairy and the legumes, so beans, pulses, all of those kind of things.
So don't eat them either.
Yes. So they're the ones she takes out because of the lectins in the legumes, that they can affect people, especially with autoimmune conditions and MS. So she's seen huge success, and she's studied it with hundreds, maybe even thousands of people at this point. So very effective.
Yeah, I'm like, so what, people contact her and she puts them on a diet? Is it like
less? Yeah, I think they come in and they do very similar to nutritional therapy. They go through in detail a person's history and what their symptoms are and their condition, and then they put them on the diet, but they monitor their progress and they support them as well. And she would tell them as well about kind of movements that they need to do or exercise, because she thinks exercise is really key to the recovery as well. And just anything else that they need. I think sunlight is a big part of hers as well, vitamin D, and detoxification actually as well. So a lot of the time she's found that she's done MRIs on a lot of patients, and they've seen, even certain things that are similar in the brain or in the body, but also high levels of heavy metals in the body as well. So she brings people through a detox as well. So very interesting work that she's doing.
I'm like, I'll have to get her name.
Terry Walls. Yeah, but I can give you the links and everything afterwards.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Like it all literally comes down to your diet.
Yeah.
And like you're going to your doctors to get tested for something, to get put on medication, but if you just improved your diet.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's so easy to like, I'll always listen to like nutrition podcasts and I try look up like, what should I be eating and all, but it's so easy to just not eat that food.
I know.
And like, I think like you were saying to me, that all comes down to like your beliefs and stuff like that. So how did your beliefs come into what you're eating? Or
often people will come and they want to change, but they're not quite ready to yet. And I will bring coaching into it because I'm also trained as an executive coach, and I'll bring people, just into a state where, when I say a state, we just talk really to see what's holding them back and going deeper and deeper. And I'll just ask some questions, hold the space while they start to think about, okay, why am I not changing? And why do I not want to do this? And, why did I say I would, eat greens and then I didn't do it? And, I'm never going to give out to somebody for not following, but they want to, and they're annoyed with themselves because they're not doing it. And usually people will get insights the more deep they go, because if you're normally, you're not going to think to that level on your own usually, but if someone is there asking you the questions, you'll go, okay, I'll look at that. And then you'll go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And often, almost always, people will come to, oh my God, it's because I don't feel like I'm enough. Or I felt like certain way all my life, or I've always been afraid of X, Y, or Z. They'll come to some insight in themselves. And they'll go, wow, that's something I didn't consciously realize that, because the subconscious is so powerful, and consciously they've wanted to get better, but subconsciously they wanted to stay sick. One person realized that they were getting a lot of sympathy and a lot of support and a lot of attention because they were sick, and they hadn't consciously realized that once they got better, they wouldn't get all of that sympathy and support anymore, but they needed it. They felt that they wanted it. And once they realized that, they realized, okay, like, why do I want that sympathy and support? And how can I give that to myself? How can I give myself what I need, like self-love, and not need that from someone else and need to be sick to get it? So it's like the first step in realizing, like the awareness, and then realizing, what do I want to do about that now that I know that I have that subconscious belief? That's
mad that someone actually sat there admitting to you that, like, obviously when you were asking all the questions and actually said that it was the sympathy that I wanted. Like,
I think it's because they just had that realization and they were able to say it, and even verbalizing it is the first step towards changing it.
Yeah, awareness.
Yeah, because if they verbalize it, it's out there now. And they can't just cover it up and hide it anymore, because they've said it to themselves and to someone else. And that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on coffee and caffeine?
So it depends on the person. I think a lot of people do fine with a cup of coffee in the morning, but the quality is important. And when you have it, and the quantity as well. So if you're having it late at night, it could really impact on your sleep. If you're having it, even in the afternoon, sometimes it's getting you through the rest of the day because it's a stimulant, but it might be masking some other energy issues as well, because coffee's keeping you going, not your own natural energy stores in the body. So that can be an issue. But I know with Chinese medicine, and I work closely with some acupuncturists as well, especially with the postpartum mothers in the clinic in Dublin. And they see caffeine causing a lot of issues in the body generally. Now, I'm coming more from the scientific side, but I think there's huge wisdom in the traditional Chinese and all the traditional cultures. And they would usually not be as fond of caffeine, especially for the kidneys and the issues that it causes for kidney energy. Now, I'm not an expert to speak on that, but in the body itself, for a lot of people, it can cause more anxiety or more jittery kind of feelings. Some people just can't process caffeine out of their body quickly enough, and it's causing like a lot of issues. Or, even for me, that was part of the reason I had such a fast heart rate. And when I give up caffeine, my heart just went normal.
Would you never have caffeine now? Or?
I I don't feel I need it anymore. I never get, like, I don't get that tiredness during the day at all now since I gave it up. And I don't feel like I need it, you know, that kind of way. It's like my energy is stable throughout the day, as long as I'm getting a good sleep. And like, I have small children, so it's not always easy to do that. But I know in my own body, if I use a stimulant, it's fake. It's like a donkey that's really tired and you're just hitting it, and then like it runs on, but it's really tired, you know, and it'll just eventually just collapse.
Yeah, like I feel like I have like I'm just going for the taste of it. It's not even
so the coffee specifically.
Yeah, I just like it. Like, and I'll have one, and then I'm like, I feel like I need another one. And I'm like, I feel like half the time, like, I'm probably better off just buying a decaf.
Yeah.
And then would you suggest that, like, to someone, like, just to, because it's not even like, that's what I don't feel like I think it's just the taste of coffee that I want.
Yeah, so sometimes decaf can be a good way to, you know, just get that fix, you know, from the taste and the feeling of having it. And sometimes there's an emotional connection too to how we feel when we're having the coffee, or it could be chocolate for other people. And that's something that, you know, if it makes you feel really good and you're taking that away, what's going to make you feel good? And again, it goes
probably
back
have to replace it with something else.
And that can happen. But also just looking at, why did I need that? Or, you know, why do I need something to make me feel good? What's inside me that doesn't feel good? And again, the coaching part can get to that for people as well. And, you know, for some people, it gets to, let's say for chocolate, that they need something sweet in their life because they're not happy, and they're looking for the sweetness to make them feel happy or feel good.
Yeah.
But it's not a sustainable or healthy way to get it. And when they start to think about what's missing inside themselves, they realize the emotional connection to that food.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? That's like I think you're talking to me. I'm like every morning I'm like, I feel like I need a coffee to sip on, and it does make me feel better.
Yeah.
And then like I need to stop at a garage. I'll get like a dairy milk or something.
Yeah.
Just to like have a bit of chocolate. And I'm like, you know, when you were saying that, I'm like, is this something that's like?
Well, it can be habits as well, because we're used to doing it and we enjoy it. And why would we take away something we enjoy? You know, like it can just be something that's become part of our lives and we're used to it. And yeah, sometimes it's kind of like a ritual for ourselves every day, or our own reward. And when something is rewarding us, we don't want to lose it. And sometimes it could be fine. Like, I mean, for one person, self-love could be a little bit of chocolate. But for another person, it could be a really like almost self-abusive thing to do, to be having it if they're lactose intolerant maybe, or if they have issues with caffeine and they're still eating it and it's damaging their body. So it depends on the person, how much and what's the reason they're eating it. Is it emotionally driven because they're compensating for something they're, you know, maybe deeply unhappy about, or is it just, you know, this makes me feel good and it's just a little bit and it's in balance with the rest of their diet?
Yeah. Have you had anyone coming to you and they're just looking to, like, say, lose weight? Or, and would that be like, say, it would be like emotional eating and stuff like that?
Yeah. Weight loss, it's really, really, really common goal for a lot of people. And it's usually weight loss, but lots of other things that they want to resolve as well. And I'll usually level set a person that we're going to work on something that's going to be sustainable for the long run. So usually when people do weight loss, they're doing a crash diet and they're getting results really quickly, but then the weight is going back on plus some extra, and they feel really bad afterwards, you know, when they've done that kind of yo-yo diet. But what I'm looking at is, how do we change the diet so that they're getting resolutions for all of their health issues to begin with, or, you know, that it's supporting their conditions. But yeah, how can they lose the weight in a longer way? Because if they lose it more slowly, they'll feel better, they'll keep it off longer, and they'll be able to eat like that for the rest of their lives. Yeah. So we look at, one of the big things I look at is sleep when there's a weight loss client as well, because if you're not getting enough sleep, you create more of the hormone ghrelin in your body. And ghrelin is a hormone that tells you you want to eat more. And I'll often say to them, you know, ghrelin is a gremlin and it's on your shoulder saying, eat more, eat more. And if you're not getting enough sleep, it just gets louder and louder. And I mean, you know, who when they're tired wants to have a salad? You know, you just want the comfort food. But you will look for more high sugar or high carbohydrate foods when you're over hungry and you have too much ghrelin in your system. So to silence that, getting more sleep can be really effective. And a lot of studies have shown that people who get more sleep are usually better at managing their weight than people who don't get enough sleep. So that's one place I'd start. Even how often someone is going to the bathroom, and are they getting enough water? Like, are they constipated? Are they holding too much food and not moving it out quickly enough? Do they need some detoxification as well? Because we hold toxins in our fat cells as well. What's their diet like? That's the big part as well. What are they eating or not eating? And sometimes people will say, I don't really eat that much, so I'm not sure why I'm not losing weight. But then when we do a food diary for 3 days, we can see that what they're eating is very high calorie, but low in nutrients. And if your body it might be getting lots of food, but it's not getting lots of nutrients. So it still thinks it's hungry because it's looking for more nutrients for the body, as opposed to feeling full after something sugary, which you won't really. One good example is if you were after finishing your dinner and you were kind of just wanted something else, would you reach for a boiled egg or 2 chocolate digestive biscuits?
Probably the 2 chocolate digestive biscuits, yeah.
But they have the same number of calories. And an egg would be really filling after your dinner. You wouldn't want it. You're already full, but you'd have room for 2 chocolate digestives or 4 or 6. And the calories can add up that way. So I'd be looking at where are the calories sneaking in, and especially sugary drinks as well. Or if someone is adding sugar to their tea or coffee, they're just adding up that calorie load, and they don't see it, because you're not going to see the sugar going into your tea, and you're not going to notice in the biscuits or whatever how many calories are there.
I feel like you're so disciplined with your food. Like when I was looking at your Instagram and it's like all the pictures that you're putting up of all the food, how do you find do you not find that hard when you're on the go, where you're like having to go from A to B to C, wherever? Like, would you meal prep like for a couple of days? And
it's hard. I wish I was that organized to meal prep for a few days. And even when I worked at Meta for Instagram and Facebook and Messenger, and I was traveling a lot. So, if you're in the airport or hotels, you're kind of just going to have to choose from what's there. But usually, because I have the knowledge now, and that's what I usually want to give clients as well, is the knowledge to make the right decisions. So I'll already be looking at a menu and I'll see what's going to be the healthiest option out of what's there. And sometimes, I'm not going to arrive with a big bag or suitcase full of food. I'd love to be that organized. Sometimes I do if I'm, if I have time to prepare and I know I'm going somewhere that is only going to be very poor options, I'll bring some things with me as well. But often I'm looking at, okay, what meal is going to have the cleanest protein? It's going to have the best, is there a brown rice option instead of white rice? Even in Dublin Airport, I'm not sure if it's still there was a Camille takeaway place, and there were good curries and brown rice. Or
so would you recommend the feel good curry then out of Camille?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Half the time I'm like, is that healthy though?
Yeah, and Camille will show you as well how many calories are in each meal, and I think they might even show some more nutrient information as well, so you get a better idea of what's in there. But yeah, the cleaner the source of food, the better. And actually, when people are in the supermarket, there's a really good app they can use on their phone, and it's free. It's called Yuka, Yuka. And if you take up, let's say we go back to the example of the protein bars, and if you take the protein bar and scan the barcode with the Yuka app, it'll tell you straight away if there are dangerous ingredients in it, or if it's rated out of 100, it'll give you a rating. And sometimes you look at something and go, 18 out of 100, I'm putting that back, because it might have lots of different additives that are really bad for your body. And then it'll show you alternatives that are healthier. So if you scroll across, then it'll show you, this protein bar is 80 out of 100, and then you might take that one instead. So it's a really good way when you're on the go and just picking up food that's already pre-made and it's in packaging, just to see how good is this. Now, it's not perfect. It's still adding more information all the time, but it gives you a really quick indication of whether something is very processed or whether it's a little bit more natural.
And would you think, you'll get a lot of people saying that eating healthy is expensive, but I feel like it's probably the other way around. So
I think so.
Because I went into the shops before. When I go to a shop and I try not pick up any shy, because I know I'm going to make a lot of stops at the garbage and pick it up. Where if I have it, I tend to eat more.
Yeah.
So like I went to the shops before and just bought a load of vegetables and stuff like that, and it was actually cheaper.
Yeah.
Like where a few people would be like, oh, eating healthy is actually expensive.
Yeah. If you learn to cook, eating healthily is way cheaper than buying pre-made food or takeaways or eating out. Way cheaper. But a lot of people haven't learned to cook, or they're not really sure where to begin, or they know how to make pasta and they stick with that, or they know how to make one or two things. But if you know how to do a stir fry, you can have so many really good vegetables in that, and it's really tasty. And add a different sauce and suddenly it's a curry, or add something else and it's a different meal, and it's like an easy base to do. And that was actually one of the first things I learned to do, was a stir fry. And I taught so many boyfriends and friends and different people, like even long before I was into nutrition. But it's just learning some of those basics can make it really cheap then to cook at home. And growing food is something that a lot more people are getting into now. But you can take nearly everything that you buy in the supermarket, like let's say celery, tomatoes, all the different berries, and you can use the seeds from them to grow your own at home.
Oh, so like if you buy a pack of berries, you can actually use that to grow them?
Yeah, because the berries on strawberries are on the outside, and there are loads of really good videos on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere that'll show you how to take those seeds and just plant them. And
that's right,
yeah. And even with celery, cutting off the bottom of it and planting that part in water, I think initially, and then into soil, you can grow your own celery and your own lettuce and loads of things at home. But again, it's the discipline to do it. But some people are really into that, and it can save a huge amount of money.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that now. My ma, literally, I came home the other day and she has this little, now I don't know by the size of it, I'm guessing she's probably going to have, like she said, she's grown like loads of different things out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the size of it, I'd say she's going to have like tiny little bits of each thing.
Yeah.
So it's probably, she's going to have to buy more anyways.
Maybe.
But yeah, like she's mad. That's what she's trying to grow a few. I think she's, I actually need to put that on silent. Sorry. Yeah, so I think she's growing like lettuce. She said lettuce, and the little hole for the lettuce to come out was like a tiny little dot. And I was like, how much lettuce are you expecting to get out of that? But yeah, I'm dying to see now what comes out of it now.
It's a start, I suppose, and then she might get more adventurous and grow more as well.
Yeah, and that's what my stepdad was just like, you're going to have it, it's in the hall.
Oh, right.
So my stepdad was like, oh, you're going to have chickens now at the other side of the hall now as well. And start having their own eggs and all.
Yeah. And some people go that far, like, they add on and they have their
have a bit of land, why not?
Yeah. And in countries like Cuba, everybody grows something, whether it's just on a windowsill or a balcony or on the roof, everybody's growing.
Yeah. And what do you, when we're talking about now growing vegetables and stuff, see the way, well, people will say that now, are things, when you're buying vegetables from a supermarket, are they all sprayed and they're probably not good for you?
Yeah. So organic, definitely the best way to go if you can. And when I lived in Dublin a good few years ago, I lived beside 2 organic markets, and I was just
organic
blessed.
Basically means as in not sprayed.
No sprays, yes. So no pesticides sprayed on them, and they're grown as clean, in the cleanest way possible. But a lot of supermarkets are improving with how much organic food they have. Like Lidl is really good. I find, they have organic strawberries at the moment, and strawberries are one of the most sprayed fruits. I think there's 12 different pesticides that are sprayed on them. And if you've ever seen the pictures, the guys are in, the full suits with their faces covered, white suits going around spraying in the fields. And all of those, the accumulation of all the different pesticides and toxins, that can cause a lot of health issues as well. But the cleaner we can get them, the better. But there's also Veggie Wash is a product you can get to put in a little bit into water with the vegetables or the fruit, and it helps to loosen off some of the pesticide residue, so you can wash off a lot of the pesticides as well. So that's good. But also there's 2 lists. One is the Clean 15 and the other is the Dirty Dozen. And the Clean 15 are 15 fruits or vegetables that are grown, that are not organic, but the pesticides don't make it into the food like in a bad way. So like avocados, oranges, fruits that have
that you need to actually take the
skin, or a shell or something off. Yeah. They tend to be fine, and that list is updated every year, because sometimes they introduce new pesticides, and one that was clean last year is not clean anymore. So they update that list every year. And then the Dirty Dozen is the 12 most like the least healthy ones that have the most sprays on them. And strawberries are usually pretty high up there, apples and other fruits and veg that are heavily sprayed.
So if you're in a supermarket, I'm like, I keep saying supermarket. A couple of times I said that. And I'm like, that's an American word. So I don't know why I keep saying that. But anyways, it's so when you're in the shops, you're basically looking for the word organic on everything then, aren't you?
Yeah.
I never knew what that meant. I just thought I was thinking, all right, that's a little bit better. Or that's like a buzzword that they're putting on, say, things and putting a price that's higher and stuff. So I wouldn't even bother going near that. I didn't realise that actually means that it's not sprayed.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're not using pesticides, and when it comes to meat that's organic, they're not using hormones or antibiotics in the animals as well. So that's really good for your system not to be getting those extra hormones and antibiotics from the meat.
All right, because they will inject the meat, isn't it?
Or they inject the animals. So sometimes they have maybe thousands of chickens in the same shed, and if one of them gets sick, they could all get sick. So they give them antibiotics to stop them getting sick, or they'll give them hormones to grow them quicker as well.
That's mad, isn't it? But I think I seen that somewhere. But I'd never. So what are you looking at on meat? I'll say organic as well.
Organic, yeah. And it's hard enough in the supermarkets in Ireland to find a lot of organic meat. You will find some, and I think there's, a lot of more beef. Organic is easier to find in Ireland, but there are other providers and butchers that do have organic meat as well. Just kind of have to look for it sometimes,
So where do you, like, if you were to buy your meats, would you get them, would you go to a butcher's or would you go to... It's much healthier in the butchers, and
we had a lovely, really nice butcher. I'm living in the Midlands, near Athlone, and there was a really, really good butcher there, and he grew, like, he had a farm himself, so it was a lot of his own meat, and it was very, very good quality and grass fed, and nothing bad used. But he closed down because it's getting so hard to stay profitable with all of the different costs. So it's harder and they're more expensive because of the extra costs that go into, if you're spraying something, let's say vegetables again, it's much easier to grow them. But if you're not, it's a bit more labor intensive to go out and pull weeds or, check them for disease and, figure out how to keep them growing without different sprays. And it's the same with the animals as well. They need a little bit more maybe care or more room to roam. You can't just pack them in together if you're not shooting them with, shooting's the wrong word, but I mean injecting them with hormones and different things. So it's a little bit more expensive to produce food that way. But the way I see it for buying it and eating it, you're getting the health benefits now and you're preventing possible issues in the future. So for me, investing in your health is always worth it because of you're kind of getting the benefit twice. You're getting the benefit now with your health being better all through the rest of your life, and you're preventing other issues that could happen later in life. And when we have all these toxins building up in our bodies, it's a breeding ground for disease and for different issues, especially if we're not eating well overall. Yeah,
and you see the way, so now I'm like thinking, next time I'm going to go shopping, I'm literally just going to be looking for that word, and that's the only thing I'll be picking up. It's mad. I just thought it was literally a buzzword for them to put their prices up. I didn't realise that that's what it actually meant. But so obviously that's for the meats, and then is there a thing for like dairy and stuff like that? Like, is there a word that you should be looking out for, or certain dairies? Or obviously, you're saying stay away from dairy altogether. Probably, are you?
I mean, it suits some people really well. But I think the cleaner the source, the better as well. If it's organic, that's always going to be a bit better because you're not going to have those hormones or antibiotics in the food so easily. But with dairy as well. Let's say, for example, with yogurt, there can be different qualities of yogurt as well. So Greek yogurt is really good. It's made in an old traditional Greek way. Well, still in the modern world, but it's got higher protein content in it, and it's a bit better in terms of probiotics, which are good for your gut. Compared to if you buy just a yogurt that's full of sugar and fruit syrup, whatever, that's going to be very high in sugar and maybe very little, if any, probiotics in it at all. So it's about, the Yuka app helps with some of that, knowing what sugar content is in it, but also just knowing that like Greek yogurt is good. Greek style yogurt is like an imitation of it, which doesn't have the same health benefits, but they know that most people won't even notice the word style.
I wouldn't even know. I would have just been like, oh, Greek's all the same.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably be like, oh, that's cheaper. It's all the same. I'll just throw that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't actually. I think I'll be like going to shops and I'll be in there for about 3 hours.
I know,
scanning all
I
the food.
It like my kids even love taking my phone. They're like, I want to scan it, and they're like, oh,
That's
this one's
good that
red, Mommy, this one's red.
Yeah, I feel like, how old are they?
6.5 and 4.
Yeah, so that's, I feel like from a young age they're gonna know what's good to eat and what's not.
Yeah.
Where I would have like. That wouldn't have never been for me when I was growing up.
Same, this is all recent for me as well. But I think people are more interested now. Whereas years ago, it was all about cost. It was about getting the cheapest food.
Yeah.
But now people realise that if they get good quality food, they're going to have better health and they're going to feel better. They're going to have more energy. They're going to sleep better. They're going to live longer and live better when they live longer. And for a lot of people now, they're really interested in the quality of their food. Whereas before, it was just an extra cost.
Is there any foods that you would you just avoid altogether?
Fizzy drinks.
Fizzy drinks, yeah.
Even if
it's zero sugar or zero. Say if you were to get Coke Zero or Diet Coke instead of a Coke.
Usually they have another sweetener, and the most common one is aspartame, and that's been linked to, it's controversial. Some people say it doesn't cause issues, but other research shows that it can lead to cancer and different issues in the body as well, and it's quite it leads to more acidity in the body from the sugar as well, or sorry, from the sweetener. So it wouldn't be so good, even if it's sugar free, to have those artificial sweeteners as well.
Yeah. So just your no-go is sugary fizzy drinks.
Yeah, and even one example for fertility, there was a huge study done. I think it was in 46 countries, where they found that the countries where people consume the more sugary drinks, the lower their fertility was. Yeah. So that was interesting and concerning straight away. And that was just one study with one specific health outcome. And it causes issues with so many other, it definitely disrupts your microbiome, all that extra sugar, and that's going to have a knock-on effect for anxiety or, mental health issues as well. And your immune system is suppressed when you have more sugar. It's more calories that you're taking in without even realizing it. So for weight gain as well, diabetes, different, so many different conditions are affected by it. So that would be like the number one probably to avoid.
Yeah. And so what's the right word to use? Like your job is basically more specified on like clients that are after having kids. What would you call it? Maternity? Is it?
Yeah. So I'm working with a clinic in Dublin called Aim to Recover, and we're dealing mainly, not just but mainly with women on their postpartum journey. So they've just had babies and they're dealing with all the challenges that come with motherhood. And I'm not the only one there. So I'm doing the nutrition part of it, but there's also an acupuncturist, or there's two or three acupuncturists actually who are excellent, a homeopath, a psychotherapist, kinesiologist, I think, a matsu therapist, loads of people. So it's multidisciplinary. And if nutrition is the issue or is going to help them, then they're coming to me. If there's maybe energy blocks in the body or some other issues, they might be going to the acupuncturist. So it's really figuring out what does the person need. And we're able then to refer to each other, knowing they're going to get so much help from this other therapist here. So usually, it's helping them to be as strong as possible, because now they've got a new baby to look after and they're recovering from childbirth and pregnancy. And people don't realize just what a big recovery process that is. A lot of the time you're expected, like after a few weeks, to be back out shopping and, doing everything you were doing before, back, in the gym doing everything. And people put those, or women themselves put those expectations on themselves. And it's a much longer recovery period than that. And people will arrive with a gift for the baby, a nice little baby grow, but it's usually the mother who really needs the support in that moment. And, arriving with some food, I think she'd be delighted, or, just feeding the mother, looking after the mother is something that isn't part of our culture in the same way as it was in older civilizations and traditions. And so we're usually working with the mother to see what does she need and how can she be as strong and have the best return of energy and vitality for herself so she can get through this time.
And so, the people that have come to you, do they get sent to you from the hospitals, or?
Yeah, that can happen. Okay. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I didn't know that was the thing.
It's new. This clinic is very new, and it's the first of its kind in Ireland and in most countries actually. So there is a gap in the care for mothers. We're all through pregnancy, there's a lot of care, a lot of checks, and then the birth, everybody's prepared for the birth. But after that, not many people are prepared for the recovery process for the mother and, checking in on the mother, on her mental health, like postpartum depression. The numbers are now up to 1 in 7 mothers are likely to have postpartum depression. And that can go on for months or years if it's not diagnosed. Even they say 1 in 3 women will have a health change that will last possibly for years or her lifetime after having birth or giving birth to a child. And that's not talked about. Even the pelvic floor and all of the different organs and parts of the body that have changed, nobody really prepares a woman for the changes that are going to happen and what she needs, kind of nutrients that are needed from nutrition for her recovery, but also for the baby, especially if she's breastfeeding. And how to make sure that there's other people there to cook for you, because you're not going to have time to be in the kitchen the whole time when you've got a newborn. And so much that can be done, even through supplements and food and advising, who's going to cook for you. Is it your mother or your husband or someone who's going to be able to do that, planning ahead so that there's always good food there, that they're not reaching for, just the easiest, quickest thing that's not going to be healthy for them or give them the energy they need.
Yeah, so because obviously straight after pregnancy they can't cook and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, you're usually for me when the first time I had my first child, I thought I'd be grand. After a few days, I'd be up pottering around the kitchen and cooking, and I was wondering what I was going to do with all this time when the baby was asleep. But my baby did not sleep. And I got depleted very quickly. And I had taken all the prenatal vitamins and was really looking after myself. But I found out very quickly that you need a lot of support, especially if you want to be eating well. And I learned the hard way just how much my body needed because I got depleted. And that's why I think I'm very, very drawn to working with mothers going through that, because I know what it's like myself. And if you're not getting enough sleep and your body is depleted in nutrients, you're not going to feel like yourself. Let's put it that way. And it's hard on relationships. It's hard on you. It's hard when you're putting everything into this new little baby, but so much needs to go into you as well.
Yeah. When you say that, I feel like mothers are expected just to bounce back straight after having a...
Yeah. And if you think about it, the health of mothers impacts everyone in the world because everyone has a mother. And if your mother is in a good place, the baby's in a good place, the whole family's in a good place. But if the mother isn't feeling good or her mental health has been impacted, from postpartum depression, or she now has really high anxiety or sleep deprivation, or just her whole body is depleted, that's going to have a knock-on effect on a lot of people, the children, the partner, everyone involved.
So if anyone is looking out to reach out, I'll probably work with you. I'll probably definitely be texting you. Where can they find you?
So Sweet Success is the name of my company. So sweetsuccess.ie. I'm on all the socials as well as Sweet Success Nutrition. Reach out, and the email is info@sweetsuccess.ie.
Thanks so much for coming on, Aoife.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're looking to reach out, make sure you follow us on Unlock Potential Podcast on Instagram and Demi's Nails and Beauty. See you next time.